Now we're gonna finish this thing up. So this is Lewis's F80 M3. I thought I was getting his other car. Then when he dropped it off, he said he totaled the other car. So that's disappointing. But there's a prior video on that, Brooklyn Gray G80. There's also a video on this when I did the new car prep on it. It was a light paint correction Gyeon Mohs about a year ago. Now, surprisingly, for my little baby channel, the video is sitting at 15,000 views. It's got to be the color. Yeah, it's Marina Blue F80. It's just a pretty popular car. But this is just the ceramic maintenance, right? So deep clean, iron remover, inside treatment, and then I'm putting Gyeon Cure on top of Mohs. So Mohs is about halfway through its, kind of quoted life, if you will. All right, so I shot all the prior footage with a Sony a7 IV. Now we're back to the DJI Pocket 3, or the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, whatever you want to call it, and then the DJI Mic Mini. I don't know why I struggle so hard with audio. This is a very common, popular setup, but for some reason, it's probably on me. Like, I'm not talking loud enough. Even when I go to enhance the audio in post, I use DaVinci Resolve Pro. You need Pro for this camera. Adjusting to -14 LUFS and limiters and all this crap that, seems way unnecessary for, these very basic videos I put out, but the audio just doesn't seem like it's as good as what it should be. So I'm still learning on that. We'll get this finished today, then it'll sit here, I think probably Monday or Tuesday. So I charge $375 for this detail, for this ceramic maintenance detail. I should have, 4, maybe 5 hours into it. I'm not the fastest. But today what I figured I would talk about is, we're late November, we're coming into December. I have one car booked for December, Lewis's wife's car. That's an X5 M60, Marina Bay Blue, beautiful car. But I figured, because I was looking at it yesterday, is just my year-to-date numbers and how those look. All right, so, just to recap, I detail part-time. I primarily just do polishing and coatings, and then I'll do maintenance details for cars I previously coated. I do make a couple small exceptions in there. Like I have done maintenance on a couple neighbors' cars, but I try not to make it a habit. I want to focus primarily just on, polishing cars, and then, this type of, 1 or every 2 year type maintenance details. All right, because as my numbers show, the opportunity cost of doing these types of details is very high. We're just going to talk broad numbers here, but I've done, including this car, 27 details thus far this year. If we include the X5, that'll put me at 28 for the year. Now, purely on a count basis, at 28 cars, that's a little light. Last year I did 35 projects. I think my biggest year was like 38. But it's close, right? I'm in and around that 30 number. I took the summer off. I think Q1 of this year was probably my slowest time. I don't advertise. I have a website I pay for, but I don't pay for anything beyond that. As far as marketing goes, I have an Instagram page I probably haven't updated in forever. All of these folks are either returning clients or referrals. And there's also YouTube, obviously. You know, I've gotten at least 3 cars this year from these YouTube videos. You know, the return on investment on this YouTube is definitely not there. You know, it's way negative if you think about the time commitment I have into it versus like the AdSense that it pays out. You know, I probably made, you know, $400 this year off YouTube. You know, but I'm doing it more as, I don't know, I kind of like to show what goes into the cars. I think it's fun for the owners to see it. I've gotten good feedback from them. And then if I can pick up a couple new clients on the way, you know, that's great. All right, so 27 cars to date. That breaks down into 8 maintenance and 19 polish and ceramic jobs. Let's see, the other metric I was looking at was, so far this year, my most popular job has been a light polish, infinite, and top coat. So I did 5 jobs for that. So that's typically new car prep. And then the second best was light polish and Mohs, like what this got. I did 6 cars. Third were multi-stage paint correction, infinite, and top coat. I did 3. I'm ranking these in terms of total revenue, not count. And then next was maintenance with 8 cars. I definitely did not do that much film this year, PPF. You know, I still have I have a full roll unused of film, which is kind of a waste if you think about how much that film costs, right? It's probably $1,400 just in film costs sitting there. I did outsource the bigger film installs to Alex. You know, doing the film just proved not worthwhile for me. You know, the headache, the struggles. You know, Alex does this full time. He's a much better installer anyway, so I'd rather put out a better product. You know, I obviously make less money, but I have much less time involved. But we'll see if that picks up next year. Obviously, I would like to use that film that I have. Rubber moldings, right? So pro tip, you can hand polish these guys. And then I do want to clean up these B pillars. Pretty nasty. But this rubber will clean up. So you can just do a light hand polish. It'll take off that top layer of, you know, oxidized rubber. It doesn't take much, right? So you're just pulling off that rubber. See what 5 minutes does for you, right? So we got out some water spots off the glass, B pillars polished, then hand polished the rubber. I think it looks much better. All right, so stuff like this, you know, I don't charge extra for this stuff. You know, it's a couple minutes of my time, and it's part of, you know, why I like to see these cars again. You know, I have no issues doing, you know, a little touch up here and there as needed, but this thing looks really good. This color shows up more vibrant on camera than in person. All right, so we got to do the wheels and tires, and we're about done. Oh man. Apex Racing, brushed clear. I really like brushed clear wheels. Things just have such a good look to them. Yeah, this car's so low, right? Like he's tucking tire in this thing. The top of the tire is like past my knuckle. He did say he was switching the suspension. This is on springs, too low. you.